Saturday at eventco.ca.
All right. Bonjour tout le monde. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Bell Center. My name is Jacques Aubé. I'm the general manager of Eventco. Eventco is very, very fier d'accueillir. Ça, c'est du franc-anglais. UFC 158. Surtout qu'on est chanceux. On a encore Georges sur notre carte. C'est super le fun. Vous savez, le Centre Bell est l'aréna qui a accueilli le plus de UFC, autre que les performances qu'ils ont eues à Vegas. C'est très, très important pour nous. On est super fiers de ça. Sachez aussi que le UFC, ça a un impact très important sur Montréal au niveau du rayonnement et des retombées économiques. C'est important pour notre ville de continuer à supporter notre sport et à venir en grand nombre. Donc, merci de participer à cet événement. So, I'd like to introduce you to Dana White, president of UFC. Dana, I promise it's going to be much warmer in March.
What's up, everybody? Good morning. Very excited to be back up here in Montreal. We're excited for this fight. It's a long time in the making. This is the fight that George St-Pierre wanted. And we couldn't say no to George. So basically, this is a welterweight tournament. We got 6 of the top 10 welterweights fighting on this card. Obviously, the main event, Nick Diaz versus George St-Pierre for the title. We got Condit versus McDonald and Ellenberger versus Hendricks. We just added to the card Mike Ricci and Freak Show Fletcher. Who's got the first question? Raise your hand. They'll bring you a microphone.
Right here.
Oh, you. There we go. Hi.
Dana, I think I speak for everyone when I say that it was great news to hear you were going to make it today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
First of all, how are you feeling? You
I
look
feel
great.
I feel great. Thank you.
George, last time we spoke before UFC 154, you said you were feeling 100%, no worries about your knee. You had that grueling fight with Condit. How are you feeling now, especially with this short turnaround before fighting Nick?
Yeah, I've been out for a long time, so it's a lot of contenders, and you have to make big fight when it's time to do it, you know. So this is the fight that everybody wanted to have, including me and Nick, I'm sure. So we're doing it.
My question is for Nick. Over here, Nick. I'm just first of all, welcome to Canada, Nick. And I just want to know, you've talked in the past about you don't enjoy this aspect of going to press conferences. Is this a tough experience for you coming up here away from training and going through this media process?
Yeah, it's not so bad once you're here, but yeah, it's I'd rather not do it. I mean, it's not I'll survive, but it's a little close to the fight to probably take off from home for me. But it's it's fun. It's fun to be here.
And just one last question. This past year, obviously very difficult for you. Now having a fight that you're preparing for, you have that date to prepare here for. I mean, this last year, how frustrating was this for you, not being able to compete and keeping yourself busy and active in this past year?
Well, for me, I don't feel that I've ever been able to make it like 100% leading up to a fight, or any of these fights I've had in this last couple of years have all been pretty back to back. So I don't ever feel like I've ever been really 100% and completely healed up before I've started my next training for a fight. I got guys in my camp. They have fights, and sometimes I end up main training partners. So work hard through those camps and end up injuries, and I'm not always injury free through fights, but I don't really touch on it too much. I'm gonna have to fight again and then again. So it's nice to kind of heal up for a little while and take a step back and have a look and see what's what. So that's pretty much what it's been for me.
Georges, peut-être 2 questions. Premièrement, ça a demeuré très poli entre toi et Carlos Condit la dernière fois. Beaucoup de respect entre vous deux. Est-ce que ça risque d'être différent avec Nick Diaz? Et deuxième question, est-ce que tu as songé à prendre un repos plus long, ou est-ce que tout de suite tu voulais revenir malgré le fait que le dernier combat avait été quand même assez brutal, là?
Pour ma part, moi, je reste toujours poli. Ça fait partie de ma personnalité, de qui je suis. Je sais pas si ça va être la même chose pour mon adversaire. Puis oui, le combat est rapide, mais c'est ce que je voulais. Je voulais me remettre dans l'action rapidement. Said is with Carlos Condit, it was very polite. You think it will be the same for this fight? I said, from my part, I'm always respectful towards my opponent. Whatever he's doing, it's on his part. It regard only himself. It's not, me. I know what I'm gonna do, and they said it was very fast. Very fast between the two fights. So I said that's what I wanted to have. I wanted to be in action and back quick after my last fight.
Nick, by the time UFC 158 rolls around, it'll be 13 months since your last fight, which I believe is the longest layoff of your career. Are you worried about ring rust or anything like that?
It's pretty much like what I just said in the last question he just asked me. You know, I just pretty much had to take a step back and, you know, I've had time to kind of heal up and see what's what, and that's all it's been for me. So.
And obviously that time off was due to a suspension due to having banned substances in your system at UFC 143. What are you going to do to make sure that that issue never comes up for you again?
You know, I don't know. The first thing that comes to my mind is like, you know, way to get a vacation. You know, it's not like I had people calling me out left and right. I want to fight Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz is on, you know, suspended. So, you know, it's not like I could have took a break. I said, hey, Dana, you know, I don't feel like fighting for a year. I don't think it would have worked out. But I could have used it. I've never had any time off. You see these guys fight one fight a year. George fights maybe 2 fights a year. I've never done that. I've never known what it's like to fight like that and you know, and go and take pictures and have, you know, a happy time, you know, meet the fans here and there. I got to worry about my next fight, whether I'm going to win it, who I'm going to fight, and whether, you know, all of a sudden I'm fighting in 2 weeks, 1 month. I've done that. I've done all that. I've been doing all that for you know, a cool minute.
Mr. White?
Yep.
Ben from RDS, very good. And you?
Good, thanks.
Good. When George asked you to fight Nick, did you have any reserve? Did you think about saying no to him? You will fight Johnny Hendricks. You will fight Anderson Silva.
Right. You know, obviously, if you remember the lead up to George's last fight, you know the fight that I was planning on making after that. But George St-Pierre has been a great guy, great champion, been great to this company. And if he says he wants another fight, then, you know, then we'll try to make it for him. We know Nick wanted a fight, so it worked out.
Good. And one last question. The last time UFC was here in November, it was the smallest crowd for the 5 times here at the Bell Centers, 17,000.
Yep.
Were you disappointed, and will you do something to have more people this time around?
No, you know, we do so many fights a year. You know, if we did 9,000 people, I'd have been disappointed. But it was still a great event, and like I said, we've been here 5 times, and we've been to Toronto a bunch of times, and we've been, you know, just about everywhere in Canada you could go. So it was still a successful event. What was the gate for that? Yeah, we did 3.1 million at the gate. The day I start bumming out about 3.1 million, it'll be a weird day. Thank you.
Question for Nick. Over here, Nick. After your last fight against Condit, you said some things in the cage where maybe you felt like not fighting MMA anymore. What made you decide to come back and keep fighting?
Yeah, I didn't think that I'd be getting this fight. I figured, you know, they'd probably stick me back, you know, stick me with some hard fights for a while. I got to work my way back into the fights I want and the things that I want in life. I think just the way I looked at it is I need some time to see things out. You know, I don't know. I can't really say much about that, you know, but I mean, I'm a fighter, and then you put the right fight, I'm gonna be fighting. So.
And do you think you're gonna keep fighting after this?
I'm just taking it one fight at a time.
And question for Dana. Why did you decide to bring this fight here in Montreal? George has fought a lot here in Montreal. Why did you decide to do it again here?
Because Tom's greedy. He wants all the fights up here, man. it makes sense. It makes sense to come back here with George. Like we were just saying, the question was just a second ago, were you bummed out at 17,000 people? It was a $3.1 million gate. It's a hot market. It's a great venue. I was just saying right when we walked out here, the thing about Montreal, this place is a destination. It's a place that's fun to come to, even when it's 28 below zero. It's a great place to come visit. So it never sucks coming up here.
Question for Nick. Nick, you're known for, Nick right here in the back. You're known for your very rigid, disciplined training. With that said, have you brought in any different sparring partners to emulate George's style? Maybe one of his previous opponents, maybe even consulted with Carlos Condit, your last opponent, and George's last opponent?
I'm I'm still working my way into this camp, so I think that I'm going to have a lot of important sparring coming my way. But for the most part, though, the way I see it, I've been kind of training to fight Matt Hughes since I was like 18 years old. And, George got the fight before me, so I've been training to fight this type of guy, this type of fighter, these types of wrestlers. It's the most common type that you get. You just where I'm at, you get the best of the best. So, but as far as training with wrestlers, I've got some of the best wrestlers. Jake Shields, he's always around, and then my wrestling coach, teammate, Casey Strand. He's always has different wrestlers in and out. So he was wrestling champion, and I've got some good wrestling coaches, and I don't think that it's the most important aspect for me. Just having a real consistent type of training. Like I always have the right wrestlers. That's just something I always have. There's always wrestlers coming in and out of. We've always been a jiu-jitsu school with wrestlers coming in and out. We never shut the door on wrestlers. And, we always had a gi-less class all the way back, early 2001. And we've always had guys coming out, David Terrell, and guys from my team, just really good wrestlers, bringing them in. It's just a different type of Gracie Academy I think that we're kind of like the first type of Gracie Academy, traditional jiu-jitsu academy that started with, an amount of wrestlers. So, and that's for the most part, all the guys that fight out of my team, they were wrestlers first. I'm pretty much the only guy that wasn't a wrestler, but I've got a lot of wrestlers that I train with for the most part.
Question for Nick. Up until yesterday, people were still making a big deal about what happened last time with George when you didn't show up to the press conference and all stuff like that. And wondering if you were going to be here today. Was that stuff bothering you, people keeping doubting you?
I'm just happy to get the show on the road. If you tell me exactly what I got to do to get the fight to happen, no tricks, no and then we'll get it done.
What were the tricks last time? Sorry, Nick. What happened last time? What are the tricks you're talking about?
Well, I don't want to say like I was tricked or anything like that. I just mean like, if it's straight up, it's straight up. If I'm gonna have a fight, I'm signed to fight. I think I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight. I don't see anything stopping that. I mean, like I didn't make it to the last press conference. I know it wasn't very professional on my part. But as, I just was ready to fight. I was ready to go to the fight and fight, and I thought that was the important part. But I had to learn my lesson, and so it was a lesson learned from this, and now I'm ready to fight.
Georges, personnellement, est-ce que tu as douté que Nick allait être là aujourd'hui pour remplir ses obligations?
Non, mais je suis content de savoir qu'il est là. Donc, le combat va arriver comme prévu. Puis, on va pouvoir, après ça, se tourner sur notre camp d'entraînement à 100% puis passer à autre chose. He says, if I'm surprised he's here, I said no, so I'm happy he's here, so the fight gonna happen, and after that, it's all gonna be done. We're gonna be able to focus on our training camp 100% without being bothered.
Dana?
Yeah.
Right here. To your left.
My ears are all jacked up.
It's okay. Is there going to be a UFC primetime for this fight?
That's a good question. I'm not sure yet. I don't know.
And what's the status of your relationship right now with Nick? You mentioned last month how he wasn't answering your phone calls and all that kind of stuff. Just obviously he's here now, but
the thing about him, I sent him some texts. He didn't respond to my text. He doesn't need to respond to my text. I can talk to Caesar too. But yeah, I'm fine with him. I'm fine with Nate. No problems. I think the whole Nick Diaz thing is played up a lot. He didn't show up for that one press conference. That was a bad one. But in my opinion, I mean, you could ask him. I'm sure he has his own opinion. I've always had a good relationship with Nick Diaz, as far as I'm concerned.
And then George, have you ever had an opponent who gets your blood boiling as much as Nick does? Obviously, you've faced Josh Koscheck, BJ Penn, who have talked a lot about you, but is there been a fight like this for you ever?
Most of my fight, my opponent have trash talked me, so I'm used to that. I don't mind. I have more opponent that I had less opponent that were very nice to me than they were trash talk. So it's an usual thing for me.
George, can you just take us through the reasoning why you decided to call for this fight? Because it sounds like it's your decision to go after Nick Diaz. Why?
Well, it's different reason why. Different reason why. First, Nick and I were supposed to fight before, and this is the fight that everybody wanted to see. This is the big fight that people wanted to see. People wanted to see this fight more than me fighting any other guys. And my other option was Johnny Hendricks. And Johnny Hendricks, when I watched the fight with Josh Koscheck, according to me, I believe Josh Koscheck should have won that fight. So I didn't want to fight a guy that lose to me to a guy that I beat. And I think for me, Nick Diaz is #1 contender. He's proved himself many times before. And there is a story between us. It's a big fight everybody wants to see. Nick wanted to have that fight for a long time. I want to have that fight for a long time. Now it's time to do it. And when it's time to do it, you have to take the opportunity and do it.
And Nick, what was your reaction when you heard George calling you out and calling for this fight?
We're to the right.
I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it because he didn't ever say anything. But I mean, it's fine. I don't know who they got to build a fight. The way I see it is I don't know. I don't know if there'll be a prime time. I don't know what there'll be. But I've been promoting this fight since I was fighting in Elite XC. So. But that's just because I'm always aiming to fight the best there is out there, and the people. The way I see it is, you gotta wait. You gotta wait for the people to decide who the best guy is, even if you think the best guy is. So at first I had a lot of hard feelings because I'm like, hey, how come you're not gonna recognize me as the guy out here? I'm over here running, dropping names, running my mouth, and I get no attention, and it was frustrating. But so you just gotta, you gotta work it right until you win the right fights, and then the people decide you're the right guy, and then right time's right time. But that was just pretty much my issue before.
Allô, Georges, Pascal de terrainjeu.ca, Karaté Sunfuki Longueuil. On regarde un peu la carte. Dana a dit tantôt qu'il y avait un tournoi un peu mi-moyen pour la catégorie. Savoir peut-être ton prochain aspirant. Il y a Rory McDonald qui est comme la star montante de la division. Il y a le Super Fight qui est tout le temps derrière de la tête. Je suis certain du côté de la compagnie UFC, ils veulent voir ce fight-là, les fans aussi. La façon que je vois ça, est-ce que ça pourrait être contre Nick Diaz, vu qu'il y a peut-être une règle à TriStar que toi, contre Rory McDonald, on ne veut pas voir ça. Ça pourrait être ton combat d'adieu dans la catégorie des mi-moyens.
Je comprends pas ta question. Peux-tu répéter, s'il te plaît?
OK.
Tu me dis que
En fait, si on considère tout présentement l'environnement sur la carte 158, il y a beaucoup de mi-moyens dans l'undercard, le co-main event pour comme voir le prochain contender pour ton titre. Toi, tu as déjà dit que si tu montais d'une classe de poids, tu ne redescendrais pas parce que ça défrait tout ton timing et ton entraînement. Tu as la pression du côté de la UFC qui veulent voir Silva contre GSP. Donc, est-ce que ton combat contre Nick Diaz pourrait être ton dernier combat dans ta présente catégorie de poids?
Je ne sais pas. Ça va dépendre. Je me concentre pas sur qu'est-ce qui va arriver après Nick Diaz. Je me concentre sur Nick Diaz. Ça, c'est quelque chose que j'ai toujours fait. Je ne ferai plus jamais la même erreur 2 fois. Puis je compte pas la faire encore. Donc, c'est Nick Diaz. Après le combat, on regardera de qu'est-ce qui va arriver. Puis je prendrai une décision après ça.
Tu as dit que tu avais fait cette erreur-là avant?
Oui, avec Matt Serra. J'avais vu plus loin, puis j'ai perdu ce combat-là. Donc, aujourd'hui, je concentre seulement sur le combat à venir.
OK. Deuxième question. Quand tu as lu pour la première fois les déclarations de Ronda sur tes combats, la première fois qu'un journaliste t'a demandé tes commentaires avec ton charisme, ton côté gentleman, ça t'a-tu pris vraiment beaucoup de temps pour formuler une réponse politiquement correcte?
Je comprends pas.
Encore? OK, c'est bon.
Je sais pas c'est quoi.
Quand la championne féminine du côté UFC a dit à la conférence de presse qu'elle te trouvait bien cute, mais que tes combats, elle les trouvait malheureusement plates. Tu comprends? Quand la première fois, on te confrontait à cette question-là, tu faisais tes impressions, toi, comment tu as réagi?
Ben, le fait qu'elle me trouve de son goût, je suis vraiment flatté. Vous pouvez dire que c'est une très belle femme aussi. C'est juste ça que j'ai à dire.
It sucks we missed that whole conversation.
He asked me what I'm
Give us the
do.
cliff notes of that one.
To make it, basically he says what I'm going to do after the fight. I don't know. I'm focusing only on Nick. I don't know what's going to happen after. And he says something, Ronda Rousey said something about me that I didn't know because I don't go on the internet or read this. She said, what she says, I don't know. Yeah, but I said it's very flattering to her to say that I'm a good-looking guy, and I said I want to say she's a very beautiful woman as well. I feel very flattered.
Georges, est-ce que tu peux revenir sur les raisons qui t'ont poussé, en français, parce que tu l'as dit en anglais tantôt, qui t'ont poussé à relancer Diaz sur ce combat-là et l'importance de ce combat-là pour toi?
Ben, comme j'ai dit, he says why I want to fight Nick Diaz. C'est un peu la même chose que j'ai dit avant. C'est le combat que tout le monde voulait voir. Ça fait longtemps qu'on était supposés se battre ensemble. Il y a une histoire entre moi et lui. Ça fait longtemps qu'il me cherche à se battre contre moi. Moi, j'avais d'autres aspirants. Puis là, ben, c'est son tour qui est venu. Puis donc, je suis content de me battre contre lui. I said the same thing as before. I said, it's a long time we were supposed to fight each other. He'd been calling my name for a long time. I had other contender to fight first that I had to fight. And now it's his time. I think he's the number one contender now. I'm more than happy to give him a shot. I'm not a coward. I never duck nobody. Never, you know what I mean. I never run away from nobody. And now it's his chance. He deserves it. I'm willing to give it to him. I'm happy to give it to him.
Nick, minutes after George beat Condit last November, you tweeted that you were not impressed by his performance. Can you talk about that? What did you think of George's performance?
I wasn't overly impressed with either one of them, to be honest. I mean, I'm impressed with the two of them. Don't get me wrong, but in you know, the show the fight I watched, I just wasn't you know, I didn't expect to see more. I just wasn't overly impressed. That's all. I mean, I didn't mean to criticize. It was a good fight. I thought it was a great fight. I was impressed with the show.
Georges, at UFC 137, Nick Diaz, after his win, called you out. Could that be one of the reasons why you want to fight him today? What happened on that night?
There is a story, you know, between us, but it's more than that. I truly believe he's the number one contender now. I believe he's the man to beat in my division, and I want to be a champion. I want to fight the best guy. I don't want to fight the number 3. I want to fight the guy who's ranked the best, and I believe the best guy right now it's Nick Diaz. You know that's truly what I believe.
Dana, question for you. When George visited France right after the last fight, there were some rumors out there that you guys had some discussions concerning Anderson Silva and that George had been asking for $50 million for that fight. Was there any truth to that? Were there any discussions at all, or did you guys just go straight to
That's
to
the
Nick?
stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. Literally.
So that's the answer to that
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
All right, thanks.
Still on a financial type of thing. Nick, you've complained in the past, right here in the back, you've complained in the past about monetary incentives as regards to your fights. Is the UFC taking care of you for this fight since you're fighting for the belt and George St-Pierre?
I can't complain. I'm here to fight, you know. That's all I can say.
Thank you. And for George, are you enjoying this run of hometown advantage in your fights?
It's not really an advantage, you know. It's the same octagon, it's the same thing. The thing is, when I fight in Vegas or somewhere else, after the fight, I can leave the action and go back at home and relax. Now it's kind of weird because my home is where the fight gonna happen, so I'm gonna have to leave my home to go relax somewhere else. And no, it's not really an advantage, you know. It's the good thing about it is my parent and close relative will be able to see the fight and come to see me fight live. But yeah, the crowd is gonna give me the pump, you know, and everything. But there's only me and Nick, Nick and I in the cage. Nobody else will help us. Nobody else will help me. So I'm ready for that, you know.
Are there any aspects of Nick's game that you think will cause you a problem in the cage?
It's a lot of things that he does gonna cause me problem. And yeah, I'm gonna have you know, I'm working on the tactic. You know, tactic is gonna be, I'm gonna train hard and get ready for the fight. You know, he's a very good fighter, and he's there for a reason, and I'm gonna try to overcome the obstacle.
A question for Nick. Nick, over here. I know Dana said that you didn't have to answer his text, but can you just say why you didn't?
I didn't get any texts from. No, I don't know. Maybe I may have missed it. I don't know. Maybe we got our numbers switched around or something. I try to, for the most part though, I try to respond if the boss here is hitting me up.
That's what I figured. And just for George and Nick, can you each say one thing that you like about your opponent and one thing that you don't like about your opponent?
I want George to go first.
No, I like my opponent. That's why I want to fight him. I don't mean to say it like that, but I like, he's the number one. He's the guy to beat. That's what you want. I've been wanting his spot. He's got the spot. He's the guy to beat. He's the guy to be. Pretty much. That's good.
So you like him?
Yeah, I like him just fine.
Is there anything you dislike about him?
No, I like him just fine. I maybe could have got the fight a little sooner. I mean, I respond back if someone starts, talking their little shit sometimes, unless it's, But, I wasn't even fighting for the UFC when I was running my mouth, too, though, so I can't blame it. It's not like I was even fighting for the UFC, and you can look at it like that, but it's what it is. I had no room to run my mouth and talk. I was promoting this fight. I got the fight I wanted. I can't complain now. But no, I like him just fine. I don't have,
Well, the thing that I like about Nick Diaz is a very exciting fighter, and I know when I'm gonna fight him, he's gonna make the best out of me come out in the octagon. He's gonna push me to the edge, and that's what I appreciate. He's gonna make the best out of me come out. I'm gonna have to give it all. And one thing I don't like about Nick Diaz is he wants what I have. It's my title. That's what I don't like. But I'm sure, like I said, we all do that because we want to be number one, So now there's a lot of tension and everything, but in 20 years, you know, when I'm gonna look back to this thing, and if I ever see him in the street, I'm not gonna be angry, you know. I'm gonna, you know, it's a very serious competition sport. It's a full contact sport. We put our life in jeopardy every time we fight. You know, maybe people might joke about it, but it's not funny. It's tough sport, you know. We risk our life, you know, and yeah, that's why it's a very dramatic thing right now. But like I said, we want the same thing. We want to be the best. That's what we're here for.
Last August, going into that Fox card, we had the two light heavyweight fights where it was, you know, whoever looks the best here is going to get the title shot. For this card, with the other two welterweight fights, is it a similar kind of theme here where we will get a #1 contender out of one of those two fights?
Yeah, I would have to say that if, you know, the Johnny Hendricks thing, if Hendricks looks good and wins his fight, probably Hendricks. But who knows? Again, that
So
night
McDonald or Condit,
we'll see what happens that night.
conceivably, if they look good, they could potentially be in that spot too. And I just wanted to also ask Nick, when this fight came your way, you finally got this fight. When they told you it would be in Montreal, what was your reaction? Was that any issue to you at all, or did you not care where this fight is taking place?
I don't think they test for steroids out here.
I think they do.
I don't no, I don't know. No, it's cold. It's cold. You know, I would
Just for the record, they test for everything here.
I don't know. Okay, well, that's good to know too. But no, I like fighting in Vegas. I'm used to fighting in Vegas at MGM. I fought at the MGM and in the Mandalay Bay. You know, it's just comfortable. It's almost like a second home at this point in time. Over the last 10 years or whatever, I've been fighting there. So that's, you know, I'm used to doing most of my fights in Vegas or in San Jose. But, you know, I'd like to get up here a little earlier. It's kind of cold out here, and a little dry. So that's the only thing that comes to mind.
Let's get two more questions from the press, and then we'll get some fan questions.
This question is for George. Hi, Jason at CJD. I just have it's a bit off topic. I got a question for you. Are you able to call PK Subban and get him to get a deal done so we can have some real defense?
I didn't know he didn't have a deal done. I don't really watch hockey, so sorry, man.
Nick, you were talking about bringing in wrestlers into your camp and you being ready for wrestlers. Does that mean that you think your striking is up to par with George's and you don't want to work on any other aspects of your game, knowing obviously your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is right up there?
I'm doing all right with what I'm doing. I don't know what George is doing. I don't know what you know. I've seen his last fight, and you know, I'm not worried about anything but me. You know, I just gotta, you know, be healthy, and then I'm set.
Yeah. Any fan questions? Just raise your hand. I'll give you the mic. Don't ask me for tickets. I'll be back up here before the fight. Now nobody's got a question.
Hey, Dana, right here.
Yeah. Hey.
I had a question. What stops the UFC from doing a back-to-back venue, staying the same weekend or something like that in the same city?
You mean doing this venue back-to-back in 2 nights?
Example, yeah.
Well, you'd have to...
Like 2 different shows, 158, 159, but staying in the same venue.
They were just
city.
saying that we came here so much we sold 17,000 tickets.
Don't worry about
Don't
that.
listen to them? Yeah,
No,
they're full of
no,
shit.
no.
It would be tough. That would be a tough one. Then you'd have back-to-back pay-per-views unless you did a Fox card and a pay-per-view the next night. But I don't know. That's a tough one.
Well, with a big card, it could work, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
She's in love with you, so...
Thank you. I knew that was your real question.
Oui, j'aurais une question pour Georges. Oui, Georges, j'aimerais ça savoir, la dernière fight que tu as eue, tu étais supposé te donner la ceinture à Faraz. Est-ce que ça a été fait?
Oui, c'est fait. Oui, ça a été fait.
Parfait, merci.
We have a question for Nick Diaz. We can see your brothers here today. So how big is a part of your brother in your training camp and in your MMA career and your MMA training?
Yeah, my brother, he's very, very important to me. I also, you know, I have to do well if I expect him to do well. So that puts me in a really an extra tough position. It's pretty much same thing with the guys I train with. I have to do well if I expect them to do well, and yeah, he's just as important as a lot of these top guys that I have to train with, and I have them real close in contact, and we work well together, and it's great to have him because I don't see a lot of brothers that do very well. We do the same thing. We have to work together, so we make it work, and it works fine, and it works out. So I'm happy for it.
Hey Dana, I'd like to know if there's any chance we will have a season of The Ultimate Fighter in Canada.
Working on that, yeah. When's that happening, Tom? The end of this year.
Combat-là, tu vas en fait décider à mettre ton adversaire KO si tu vas juste donner ton minimum.
C'est pour moi la question, ça. Je donne toujours mon maximum, mon ami, puis c'est pas facile d'être dans la cage. Sûrement que tu n'as jamais embarqué dans un octogone de ta vie, mais tu devrais essayer. Ça te ferait une expérience comme on dit, of a lifetime.
Hey, George, en anglais.
The guy says, "Are you gonna decide to put the guy in knockout for once, or are you just gonna do your minimum?" I said, you should try to step in the octagon and try it for your own.
What a dick!
See how it is.
All right, we'll do one more fan question.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Just wondering, there's a lot of ifs to my question, but if George wins, Johnny's obviously probably the next in line if he wins, but if he loses it and Rory looks fantastic, I know they don't want to fight each other, but I think especially people like fans of Montreal, fighters, tri-star fighters, they'd probably want to see that fight. So is it a case of anything in your power to make that fight happen, or if it's no
Rory
for both?
McDonald and George?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a while, where they're saying they won't fight each other. I haven't heard that in a while. I don't know if that's the case, but
last press conference we were here, they both said they wouldn't. Rory especially said he wouldn't do it. So, is it a question of showing him his George's bank account, or is it?
Yeah, that would help. Listen, when two guys are in the same weight division, and you have a guy like Rory that's coming up, it's no different than what Nick Diaz said 2 minutes ago, or any other guy who's here. He wants what George has. A lot of stuff comes along with that belt. There's a lot of things that come along with that belt. It's a good thing to have that. And if you're not in it to prove that you're the best in the world, and there's been lots of guys who were friendly or friends or trained together at one time that ended up fighting each other because he wants what the other guy has. He wants to be the number one guy in the world. He wants to be the world champion. And that's something that Rory McDonald needs to decide. I don't even think that's a decision for George. George is the guy sitting there on top. He's the king. He's got the belt. And Rory's going to decide whether he wants that or not. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you coming out today. We'll get this stuff out of here, and I'll square these guys off for a photo op.
Okay, the way it's going to work for interviews, guys, we're going to bring George in front of his banner, Nick in front of his banner, Dana's going to be here. We also have Tom Wright from the UFC Canada as well available for interviews. Who's starting? Well, each guy will be in front of his banner. Here, we're going to scrum each guy.
Scrum first?
Yeah.
Yep.